Level 1, the sentence. You're lying on a bunk in cell 14, Block C, of the United States Penitentiary in Terre Haute, Indiana, and you're counting ceiling tiles for the 547th night in a row. There are 23. You've memorized the cracks in each one. The second tile from the left has a fracture that looks like the Mississippi River if you stare at it long enough, and you've stared at it long enough. You're serving 35 years for armed robbery and felony murder. The felony murder means someone died during a robbery you participated in, even though you didn't pull the trigger and weren't in the room when it happened. Your co-defendant pulled the trigger. He got 40 years. The law doesn't care about the distance between your hand and the gun. It cares about the distance between your presence and the crime. You were 60 feet away in a getaway car. That was close enough for a jury that deliberated for 4 hours and came back with a verdict that will keep you inside these walls until you're 63 years old. You're 28. The math is the first thing that breaks you. The idea doesn't arrive like a decision. It arrives like erosion. 18 months of 5 a.m. count times, and cafeteria food that tastes like the container it was heated in, and recreation yards where the wind cuts through your jumpsuit like the fabric isn't there. 18 months of your mother driving 6 hours from Louisville to sit across from you for 45 minutes in a room that smells like vending machine coffee and industrial cleaner. She's 54 and looks 70. The visits are aging her faster than the years between them. She brings photos of your daughter, who was 3 when you went in and is now 4.5, and has started asking where Daddy is. Your mother tells her you're working far away. The lie is kind and temporary and will eventually collapse under the weight of its own timeline. Your daughter will figure it out. Kids always do. You just want to be there when she does. Level 2, the watching. You start watching the facility. Not planning. Watching. The way you watch traffic patterns before a robbery, except now the target is the building you're inside of. You notice that the south wall of the recreation yard is 14 feet high and topped with concertina wire, but the section nearest the maintenance shed has a blind spot where camera 7 can't reach because the shed's roof line blocks the angle. You notice that the guard rotation at the east gate changes at 6:15 p.m. during shift transition, and for approximately 90 seconds, the gate is monitored by 1 officer instead of 2 because the incoming shift stops at the break room first. You notice that the laundry truck arrives every Wednesday and Friday at 7:40 a.m. and parks inside the service yard for exactly 22 minutes while the driver processes paperwork with the quartermaster. The truck is not searched on exit because it's been coming for 11 years, and familiarity is the enemy of security. You notice all of this the way you used to notice exit routes and alarm systems, automatically, without deciding to. Your brain is wired for vulnerability assessment. That's what made you a good criminal. It's also what got you caught, because the vulnerability you missed was the co-defendant who testified against you in exchange for a sentence reduction he never received. Level 3, the plan. You share a block with a man named Wendell. He's 41, serving 22 years for drug trafficking, and has the calm of someone who processed his situation years ago and came out the other side with something that looks like acceptance, but might just be exhaustion. Wendell works in the maintenance shop. He has access to tools, schedules, and the layout of the facility's mechanical systems, including the network of utility tunnels that run beneath the building connecting the boiler room to the service yard. The tunnels are 4 feet wide, unlit, and haven't been inspected in 3 years because the maintenance budget was cut in 2021 and nobody replaced the position responsible for tunnel inspections. Wendell knows this because the position was his predecessor's, and when the man paroled out, the warden absorbed the duties into Wendell's role without adding the actual task to his work orders. You don't ask Wendell for help. You ask him about his job. Casual questions during yard time, where the tunnels go, how the boiler connects to the service yard, whether the grates are locked or bolted. Wendell answers because talking about work is better than talking about time, And everyone inside these walls is looking for conversations that don't involve counting years. He tells you the tunnel grate in the service yard is bolted from inside, which means it can be opened from the tunnel side without a key. He tells you the boiler room is unmanned between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. because the overnight officer does his rounds on the hour and the boiler room is his last stop, which means he reaches it at approximately 10:47 and doesn't return until 11:47. He tells you this without knowing why you're asking. Or maybe he knows. In a federal penitentiary, everyone understands the grammar of escape even if they never speak it. You spend 4 months planning, not on paper, in your head. Paper is evidence. Paper is a disciplinary infraction that adds time to a sentence that's already longer than your daughter's childhood. You memorize the route. Cell to corridor, to stairwell, to boiler room, to tunnel, to service yard grate to the 22-minute window, when the laundry truck is parked and unattended and the driver is inside signing forms. You calculate distances. 340 feet from your cell to the boiler room, 220 feet through the tunnel, 40 feet from the grate to the truck. You calculate time. 6 minutes to move through the building without being seen, 4 minutes in the tunnel, 90 seconds to open the grate, cross the yard, and get inside the truck's cargo compartment. Total elapsed time, 11 minutes and 30 seconds. You run the numbers until they feel like breathing. The night you choose is a Wednesday in October. Temperature outside is 38 degrees. The laundry truck arrives at 7:40 a.m., which means you need to be in position inside the cargo compartment before the driver returns from the quartermaster's office. You need to move at approximately 7:20 a.m., during the gap between the 7 a.m. count and the 7:30 breakfast call, when the block officer is processing count sheets at the station and the corridor cameras are monitored by a single control room operator, watching 43 screens simultaneously. You've watched that operator during visits to medical, which requires passing the control room. He watches the way people watch television, scanning, not seeing. His attention is a resource spread so thin it's functionally absent. Level 4, the escape. 7:18 a.m. You leave your bunk. You're wearing your standard issue uniform, which is identical to the uniforms worn by the laundry workers who move through the service corridors during this window. You carry nothing. No contraband, no tools, no bag. Just your body and the route you've memorized over 4 months of staring at ceiling tiles and pretending to be someone who's accepted his sentence. The corridor is empty. The stairwell is empty. The boiler room door is unlocked because it's always unlocked during daytime operations. You step inside. The heat is immediate, a wall of warm air that smells like rust and steam. The tunnel access is a metal grate in the floor behind the secondary boiler unit. You kneel. The bolts are corroded but functional. You turn them by hand. The grate lifts with a sound that's louder than you expected. Metal scraping concrete. And you freeze for 3 seconds that feel like 30. No footsteps, no radio chatter. You lower yourself into the tunnel and pull the grate closed above you. The tunnel is dark, completely dark. You didn't bring a light because a light is evidence, and evidence is time added to a sentence you're trying to subtract from. You move by touch. Left hand on the wall, right hand in front of your face. The tunnel is 4 feet wide and 5 feet tall, which means you're hunched, moving at a pace that feels agonizingly slow, but is actually covering ground faster than you expected. The floor's damp. The air smells like mold and copper. You count steps. 110 to the first junction, turn right. 60 more to the second junction, straight. 50 more to the grate. You reach it at 7:26. The bolts on this side are the same as the boiler room grate, corroded, hand turnable. You open it 2 inches and look through the gap. The service yard is visible. The laundry truck is parked exactly where it's been parked every Wednesday for the past 4 months of your observation. The driver's door is open. The driver is not in the vehicle. The quartermaster's office is 80 feet away, door closed. You can see light through the frosted glass window. They're inside doing paperwork. You have approximately 14 minutes before the driver returns. You push the grate open. The morning air hits you, and it's the first outdoor air you've breathed without a guard watching since the day you were arrested 19 months ago. You don't stop to feel it. You cross 40 feet of asphalt in 8 seconds. The truck's cargo compartment is unlocked because the laundry has already been unloaded and the empty bins are stacked inside. You climb in. You pull the door closed from the inside. The latch catches. You're in darkness again, but this darkness is different. This darkness is moving. Or it will be in 12 minutes, if nobody opens this door before then. You wait. The 12 minutes take longer than the 18 months that preceded them. Every sound is amplified. A radio squawking in the distance. A door closing. Footsteps on asphalt that get louder and then softer and then gone. You press yourself against the wall of the compartment behind 3 empty laundry bins that smell like bleach and sweat. You breathe through your nose. Your heart rate is something you can feel in your teeth. The driver's door opens. The engine starts. Diesel vibration through the floor of the cargo compartment, through your shoes, through your bones. The truck moves. You feel the turn out of the service yard. You feel the stop at the gate. You hear a voice. The driver's, casual, familiar, the tone of a man who's done this 500 times. A second voice, the gate officer's, equally casual. The exchange takes 8 seconds. The truck moves again. You feel the bump of the speed bump at the perimeter. Then the road smooths out and the speed increases and you're outside the walls of USP Terre Haute for the first time in 547 days. The truck drives for 40 minutes before stopping at a commercial laundry facility in a town called Brazil, Indiana. Population 7,900. You wait until the driver exits and the parking lot goes quiet. You open the cargo door from inside. The parking lot is half empty. A strip mall across the street. A gas station on the corner. Normal America. The America that exists on the other side of concertina wire and 14-foot walls. You step out and walk east because east is a direction and standing still is a recapture. You have no money, no phone, no identification, no plan beyond the next hour. The clothes you're wearing are federal issue khaki, which will identify you to anyone who spent time inside a facility or watched enough television to recognize the uniform. You need civilian clothes. You find them in a donation bin behind a church 6 blocks from the laundry facility. Jeans that are too long. A flannel shirt that smells like someone else's closet. A jacket with a broken zipper. You change behind the church dumpster and leave the khakis folded on top of the bin because some part of you that you don't fully understand can't bring itself to throw them away. Level 5. The running. The count happens at 10 a.m. Your absence is discovered at 10:03. The block officer calls control. Control calls the warden. The warden calls the U.S. Marshals. By 10:30, your name and photo are in the National Crime Information Center database. By noon, every law enforcement agency within 200 miles has your face. By 3 p.m., your mother's phone is ringing and 2 marshals are at her door in Louisville asking when she last heard from you. She tells them Sunday. The phone call where you talked about your daughter's kindergarten enrollment and the weather and nothing at all for 15 minutes because hearing her voice was the point, not the words. You make it 9 days, not because of technology or manhunts or any of the infrastructure that the federal government deploys to recapture escaped inmates. You make it 9 days because of a gas station attendant in Seymour, Indiana, who watches the local news every night and recognizes your face from a segment that ran on day 3 of your escape. You're buying a bottle of water and a granola bar with $4 you earned washing dishes at a barbecue restaurant that paid you cash and didn't ask for EID. The attendant doesn't say anything. He just picks up the phone after you leave. The marshals are there in 40 minutes. You're walking along a county road 2 miles east of the gas station when the SUV pulls up behind you, and a voice tells you to get on the ground and put your hands behind your head. The ground is cold. November now. The asphalt smells like rain and motor oil. You put your hands behind your head. You lace your fingers the way they taught you during booking 19 months ago. The cuffs go on. The marshal who kneels on your back doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. The weight of him is the statement. Level 6, the box. They add 7 years for the escape. Federal Statute 18 U.S.C. 751. Your sentence goes from 35 to 42. You'll be 70 when you get out. The transfer takes you to USP Florence, ADX, the Supermax. The facility where they send people the system has decided can't be contained by normal walls. Your cell is 7 by 12 feet. Concrete, a steel door with a slot for meals, one window 4 inches wide that shows a sliver of Colorado sky. You're allowed out of your cell for 1 hour per day, alone, in a concrete recreation pen that's essentially a roofless cell. You don't see other inmates. You don't see grass. You don't see anything that isn't concrete or steel or the 4-inch strip of sky that changes color twice a day and is the only evidence that time is still passing. Your mother visits once. The drive from Louisville to Florence is 18 hours. She makes it with your aunt driving and stops in Kansas to sleep. The visit lasts 30 minutes through reinforced glass and a telephone that adds a half-second delay to every word, so your conversations overlap and neither of you can find the rhythm. She brings a photo of your daughter. She's 6 now, missing a front tooth, smiling the way children smile when they don't yet know that smiling is a choice. Your mother presses the photo against the glass. You press your hand against the other side. The glass is cold and thick, and the distance between your palm and the photograph is 2 inches and 42 years. Wendell writes you a letter 8 months after your transfer. Short. He doesn't mention the tunnels. He doesn't mention the bolts or the grate or the conversations during yard time. He writes about the maintenance shop, about a garden some inmates started near the south wall, about tomatoes that actually grew despite the Indiana clay. He signs it with his full name and his inmate number, which is protocol, and adds one line at the bottom. He says he hopes you're reading. Not reading the letter, just reading. Books, anything. He says the men who survive long sentences are the ones who find something inside the walls that matters more than what's outside them. He doesn't say he's sorry. He doesn't say he knew what you were planning. He just writes about tomatoes and the weight of time and the specific discipline of finding meaning in a space designed to contain everything except meaning. You read the letter 4 times. You fold it into a square and put it in the only book you own, a paperback copy of something your mother sent that you haven't opened yet. You'll read it eventually. You've got time, 42 years of it, minus the 9 days you spent breathing outdoor air and walking on roads that went somewhere and wearing a flannel shirt that smelled like someone else's life. The 4-inch window is showing orange now. Evening. The sky does this thing in Colorado where the light turns the clouds into something that looks like it belongs in a painting, and you watch it from your bunk the way you used to watch the ceiling tiles in Terre Haute, counting, memorizing, looking for the crack that resembles something familiar. You don't find one. The sky doesn't crack. It just changes color and goes dark and comes back and does it again, every day, whether you're watching or not.